Hi, I'm Teddy, I'm a videographer and cinematographer and founder of Capture by Culture Films. And in this video, we're going to talk about Premiere Pro and the basics, how to open up a project, create a sequence, and use some of the features in Premiere Pro to make a static shot a little bit more dynamic. So let's get started by creating our first basic sequence. When you open Premiere Pro, this is the first menu that you get. So we're going to open a new project. I'm going to entitle it Premiere Pro Basics. Where you want to put it. So usually I put my projects in a shared drive. That way if something happens, I always have access to it. So we're going to save it right here. We're going to hit create. All right, so usually when you open a project, it'll have whatever folder with tutorial files or videos. I just skip this and I just go directly to the main menu, which is the editing tab. How you find the editing tab, you can access it here by clicking this window on the upper right. And we're just going to use this to start off. On the top left of the sequence, you'll have the source video window. This is where you view all of your individual files. On the bottom left, here is where all your project files are going to exist. To the right is the timeline. This is where all the magic happens. And right here is your program monitor, where you can view all of the clips that are in your sequence. So you're going to open your video files in this window right here. You're going to go to the folder where you have your footage. So in this example, select, holding shift, selecting this one, and pressing shift, it selected all the 4 videos right there. Open. If you double click one, it shows in your source window. You can play it by clicking the play button here. You could also play it by pressing the space bar. You right click in the window and select the media file properties. It shows you the properties of your particular clip. So this clip was shot in 4K, 3840 by 2160, and the frame rate is 29.97, otherwise known as 30 frames per second. Now, if I wanted to start a sequence using this clip, I can click it and drag it into my timeline, and Premiere Pro will automatically create a sequence with the settings of the properties of that clip. So this clip here is in a sequence. You can actually rename the sequence to whatever you want. So you can rename it to test sequence, and it will update on your timeline. Now, if you look at the window here, you can scrub through the footage by dragging the playhead across the clip. You can press the space bar as well. And you can change the resolution here. And you can add multiple clips to the segment, to the sequence, like so. Clips, when you add it to a sequence, they're played chronologically. So if you zoom in and zoom out, you can use this bar, and the clips play one after another. So if we press play, it'll go to the next clip, the following clip, and so forth. So usually when I start a project, if you right click, you can create a new bin. I'll use the first one for footage. I'll create a new bin for audio, as if I captured audio, such as a lav mic. Second bin for all of my compositions. So every time I create a new comp, I save it there. And then a final bin for all my other assets. So it could be B-roll, it could be something I pulled from online, it could be stuff I downloaded. It could also be any graphic cards or things that I'm going to be putting in my composition, right? You can select all of the clips here and drag it into the footage bin. And then you can move all of the compositions to there. So it keeps your sequence organized. There's a couple different ways you can start a sequence. Generally, what I do is I start a sequence by clicking on the bottom right of my project menu, select sequence, and I pick legacy RE 1080p, frame rate 23.976. So if you're looking for that, it's legacy RE 1080 by 23.976. Now, as you become more confident in your abilities to, edit, you may decide to choose 2880 for 4K footage, by all means. But just for the intended purposes of this tutorial, we're going to create a sequence using 1080p. I'm going to name the sequence test sequence. Now I'm going to drag my footage here into this timeline, and you're going to do keeping existing settings, right? So if you look at these clips, right, this particular clip here, and you hit the properties, it was shot at 3840 by 2160, which is 4K at 30 frames per second. Now, in a 1080p timeline, which this is, if you go to sequence settings, you'll see that it's 1080p. What that means is that this video actually is cropped in. And right next to it, if you want to modify the properties of a clip, you go into the effects control panel, which is right next to the source window. You see from here to here, and you can actually change the scale. So what's being shown is at 100%, which is cropped in. It's because it's on a 1080p timeline. You can actually zoom to 50%. You can layer clips on top of one another. When you do that, the clip that's at the top is going to be the one that's being shown. And as I explained to you with audio, it could be layered. But if you just wanted to play the audio from the top clip, you would just essentially solo it. Or you can just mute the other tracks. Serves the same purpose. And you can use the cursor here to scrub through your footage. Now, cool thing about Premiere Pro is if you press Control Z, you can redo whatever edit that you made on your timeline. And here is the Essential tab. So The first one is your selection tool. When you select A, it allows you to select different clips in your timeline. This one is track select forward. So when you select that, it's going to select any clips you have to the right of your cursor. If you press and hold, you also have track backwards, which will select any tracks to the left of your cursor. This menu here is ripple delete, rolling edit, rate, stretch tool, and remix. I'm going to show you in every circumstance that you would need to use it. Just for the purposes of this video, the basics, we're only going to be using the select tool and the blade tool, which you can use to create edits, cuts on your footage. Here is the pen tool. This allows you to create shapes on your timeline. It also allows you to create rectangles, ellipticals, polygons, and so forth. This right here is the hand tool, which allows you to move your sequence. So in case you're trying to view a different section of it, you can zoom in using the mouse circle to scroll, and you can also put text. So for the intent of this video, we're gonna do a quick sequence so that you guys understand the basic essential tools when you're creating a sequence. Is you want to create your selects and sift through your footage. Usually you're not going to use the full length of your clip. You're probably going to pick a specific moment from it. So if you hit A, that's your select tool. It allows you to select each clip. This feature here, snap and timeline, allows you to move clips and have them attach to the following clip. And link selection allows you to select both the video and the audio file together. So if it's off, it's just going to select the video file. If it's on, it's going to select both the video and the audio file together. And whatever edits you do will happen to both the video and the audio. What we're going to do right now is we're going to select a specific moment in the clip. This is known as sifting and selecting. So I'm going to go to where the action starts. I'm going to select the blade tool or press B to make an edit. I'm going to probably play a couple of seconds of the video, maybe like 6 to 8, and then create another cut and lift the section up. I'm going to do the same thing for this one, figure out where I want it to start. Get about a couple of seconds of it, stop it, make the cut, press A to select and shift it up. Start here with the blade, play. Stop it. A2 and lift it up. I'm going to select my selected clips, the ones that I'm going to be using for my sequence. I'm going to press Control, shift it over, press Control. When I let go, it's going to shift all of the unused clips to the right. of the previous clip. You can then go here where it says sequence, close the gap. Alternatively, you can select between the two clips, hit delete. Alternatively, you could also select, right click, and then ripple delete. They all serve the same purpose. So essentially, this is the sequence that we just created. Now, one of the things I want to introduce you to is a concept of keyframing. And how that works is you'll be able to modify the properties of one particular clip by either modifying its position, scale, rotation, or any of these other attributes. In this video, I want to zoom out of this particular shot. So in order to create a keyframe, you're going to select scale. You're going to move the cursor in a further spot in time, and then modify the scale so that the sequence zooms out. You can actually click the keyframes and move them to the start of the video, to the right, the end of the video. You could also change the position of a video and shift it in time as well. So not only is it zooming out, it's panning down. So if you put it all together by pressing in and out, you have a sequence. There are so many different effects and things you can add to a composition to make it more cinematic. And in this series, I'm going to share several ways that you can create transitions. You can buy overlays. You could also layer effects to get a particular look in your edit. But as far as basics, this is how you create a sequence. You select and sift through the sections of the clips that you want to use. And you can also organize the clips in different ways. I'm going to save this sequence. Actually, I'm going to show you how to export this sequence. You hit the tab here, right next to edit. You pick the location you want to save it. So I'm going to save it in my test folder. This is the previous sequence. This is test 2. And as far as the preset, Adobe pretty much has different presets for you here. So high bit rate, medium bit rate, low bit rate. For the sake of this video, I'm going to select high bit rate. If you click video, more, the target bit rate for this is 15.2, which is adequate for social media. And I selected the in and out points. So how do you select the in and out points is in your edit. All right, if I clear, right click, clear in and out, you hit in, you drag the cursor to where you want it to end, and then you hit out. Then when you go to export, test sequence, I'll name this 2. And I just exported this sequence to my OneDrive folder. Now, one of the things I want to go over with you is the potential of what you can create after you understand the basics. And I'm going to open up the intro sequence. This is my intro sequence. So essentially, all videos that are edited are just a combination of sequences, right? You can enhance particular clips by keyframing and modifying the properties. So in this clip here, if I double click it, you see the source. This is what the clip originally looked like. And as you can see, if I hit the properties, it was recorded in 4K and 30 frames per second. So in the timeline, if you look at the same clip, I added a pan up and a fade out, which is an effect found in the transition tab here. Now, there's a list of different transitions that you can use. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to explain all of the basic ones that I use. Feel free to experiment on your own. But to be honest, the transitions I usually use that are basic are the cross dissolve, the dip to black, and the dip to white. Simply put. And eventually, you'll be able to make your own sequences add music, audio, and this is all shot using my phone, my iPhone, and some shots using my DSLR camera, which is a Canon SL3 in EOS R. So pretty much I showed you the basics of Premiere Pro. I showed you how to create your own sequence, sift through your project files, create your own sequence, and use keyframing to actually make a static shot a little bit more dynamic. In later lessons, I'm going to show you how to use overlays, which you can purchase online or get free, or using the effects in Premiere Pro. So stay tuned. Peace.